March 8, 2014, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board vanished from the skies, leaving behind a trail of mystery and speculation. What happened to MH370? How did it disappear without a trace? And where is it now? These are some of the questions that have haunted the world for nearly a decade as the search for the missing plane continues. In this video, we will explore the facts, the theories, and the challenges of one of the most baffling aviation disasters in history. MH370, a Boeing 777-200ER, was scheduled to fly from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, a routine flight that would take about 6 hours. The plane was piloted by Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a veteran with more than 18,000 hours of flying experience, and co-pilot Fariq Abdul Hamid, a young and promising officer. The passengers included 153 Chinese nationals, 38 Malaysians, 7 Indonesians, 6 Australians, 5 Indians, 4 French, 3 Americans, and others from 13 different countries. They boarded the plane at Gate C1 and took their seats in the economy, business, and first-class cabins. At 0:41, MH370 received clearance for takeoff and began its journey to Beijing. Little did they know, it would be the last time they would ever see the ground. Malaysia Airlines H370 departed from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It was supposed to fly to Beijing, China, in 6 hours. But something went terribly wrong. As the plane entered Vietnamese airspace, it made its last communication with air traffic control. Those were the last words ever heard from the cockpit.
Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night. Good night, Malaysian 370.
Moments later, the plane vanished from civilian radar screens. No distress signal, no debris, no sign of the plane or its passengers. How could this happen?
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
A massive search and rescue operation was launched involving dozens of countries, hundreds of aircraft and ships, and thousands of personnel. But they found nothing. The plane seemed to have vanished into thin air. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the families of the passengers and crew were left in agony, waiting for answers, hoping for a miracle. The Malaysian government launched an investigation, but it was plagued by confusion, contradictions, and controversies. The only clues they had were from the Malaysian military and a satellite company called Inmarsat. The military radar showed that after MH370 disappeared from civilian radar, it made a sharp turn back across Malaysia, heading northwest up the Strait of Malacca, then disappearing out of range here, just north of Sumatra. Why did it do that? Was it a hijacking, a sabotage, a pilot suicide, or something else? Initially, when the airplane made a turn without talking to air traffic control, all bets were off. It could be a terrorist. It could be a deliberate act by a crew member. It could be a mass failure in the electrical system. The other thing that was very unusual was that the airplane continued to fly for 6 more hours after it disappeared from radar. The 7th arc stretched for about 700 miles along the southern Indian Ocean, one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth. The investigators narrowed down the search area to a 120,000 square kilometer zone based on the plane's fuel load and cruising speed. They were confident that MH370 was somewhere within that zone. But finding the plane was not easy. The ocean floor was largely unmapped, with depths of up to 6,000 meters and terrain that was rugged and complex. The search teams used sophisticated underwater vehicles equipped with sonar, cameras, and sensors to scan the seabed for any signs of wreckage. It used cutting-edge technology such as underwater drones, sonar scanners, and satellite imagery. It covered millions of square kilometers of ocean. The seabed was rugged and uncharted, hiding potential clues under layers of silt and rock. And the data was scarce and ambiguous, leaving room for multiple interpretations and hypotheses. Was the plane hijacked, sabotaged, or suffered a mechanical failure? Did the pilot deliberately divert the plane, or was he incapacitated? Did the plane glide or plunge into the water? Did it break up on impact or remain largely intact? As the search dragged on, the hopes of finding the plane faded. The initial area of interest, based on the satellite data, proved to be empty. The subsequent areas, based on refined calculations and new evidence, also yielded no results. The only confirmed pieces of MH370 that were found were some fragments of debris that washed up on the shores of Africa and the Indian Ocean islands, but they offered little insight into the cause or location of the crash. After 4 years and more than $200 million spent, the search for MH370 was officially suspended in 2018, with no trace of the main wreckage or the black boxes. The mystery of MH370 remained unsolved, leaving behind a legacy of grief, frustration, and speculation.
We cannot keep on searching for this D70 for forever.
The fate of MH370 is still a mystery, but not a hopeless one. Somewhere in the vast and unforgiving ocean, the plane lies hidden, holding the secrets of its final moments. But the search is not over. There are still those who are determined to find the truth, using the best of science, technology, and human ingenuity. They have narrowed down the search zone to a fraction of what it once was, based on the most reliable data available. But there are still many questions that remain unanswered. Why did the plane divert from its planned route and fly for hours in the opposite direction? Who was in control of the plane, and what was their motive? How did the plane end its flight, and where exactly did it crash? What happened to the passengers and crew in their final hours? How can such a tragedy be prevented in the future? One day, they will find the plane, and when they do, they will uncover the clues that will solve the mystery of MH370. They will recover the remains of the passengers and crew and give them a proper burial. They will bring closure to the families and justice to the victims. They will make history. It will be a moment of discovery, but also of grief. A moment of answers, but also of questions.